Guilt tripping. Imagine this. Your friend asks for a favor, and before you can even respond, they hit you with, "It's fine, I'll just do it myself, even though I have so much on my plate already." Suddenly, your heartstrings are being plucked like a sad violin concerto. Guilt tripping is all about making you feel like the villain in their melodrama if you don't comply. The key is in the subtle delivery. A sigh, a forlorn expression, and a touch of, "I guess no one really has my back." Before you know it, you're sacrificing your free Saturday to help them alphabetize their vinyl collection. But hey, at least you'll leave with the lingering guilt that you didn't subscribe to our channel sooner. Emotional blackmail. Your coworker corners you by the coffee machine with wide, pleading eyes. "If you don't cover my shift, I don't know how I'll make rent this month," they say, voice quivering just enough to imply impending doom. Emotional blackmail is the heavyweight champion of manipulation, combining high stakes and emotional melodrama into one irresistible package. They dangle the threat of a catastrophe, whether real or exaggerated, over your head, making it feel like the world's survival depends on your compliance. It's like being a hero in someone else's disaster movie. Except instead of saving the day, you're just agreeing to water their plants for 3 weeks. The Oscars really should consider adding a category for this. Gaslighting. You're sitting at dinner, certain you ordered spaghetti, but when the waiter brings lasagna, your partner casually says, "No, you definitely asked for that." You start doubting yourself. Did you? Gaslighting is the art of slowly eroding someone's confidence in their own memory or reality, leaving them confused and second-guessing everything. It's not just lying. It's planting seeds of doubt so insidious, the victim starts to think they're the problem. By the end of it, you could probably convince someone that the moon is made of cheese, and they'd apologize for ever doubting you. Done skillfully, it's terrifyingly effective and utterly maddening. Love bombing. Love bombing. The honeymoon phase on steroids. You've just met someone, and suddenly, they're showering you with gifts, compliments, and constant attention. "You're my soulmate," they declare on day 2, as you're still deciding if you even like their laugh. It feels like a fairy tale whirlwind, but there's a catch. All that affection isn't unconditional. The moment you're hooked, the tide shifts, and their expectations start piling up like laundry after a long weekend. It's the emotional equivalent of a carnival ride, exciting at first. But once the spinning starts, you're not sure how to get off without throwing up. Playing the victim. Every group has that one person who can turn stubbing their toe into a Shakespearean tragedy. They'll sigh dramatically, clutch their metaphorical pearls, and say, "Why does this always happen to me?" Playing the victim is about flipping the script to make themselves the star of every sob story. Did they miss your birthday? Well, actually, they were so overwhelmed with their own problems, you should understand. It's a surefire way to deflect blame, elicit sympathy, and ensure that everyone else feels guilty for daring to exist. After all, how can you argue with someone who's already declared themselves the underdog in life? Cherry picking. Imagine your coworker presenting a report in a meeting, casually glossing over all the data that doesn't support their brilliant new idea. Cherry picking is all about showcasing only the most flattering or convenient pieces of information while conveniently sweeping the rest under the rug. It's the art of telling a one-sided story that makes them look like a genius, or at least not a disaster. Whether it's a politician emphasizing their rare success stories or a friend retelling an argument where they were totally calm, cherry picking gives a distorted, picture-perfect version of reality. Just remember, every shiny apple might have a rotten core hidden somewhere. False dilemma. Either you come to the family reunion or you clearly don't care about us, says Aunt Margie, laying on the guilt thick enough to spread on toast. The false dilemma frames a situation as having only 2 extreme options, conveniently ignoring all the gray areas in between. Maybe you'd like to visit family but can't swing it this weekend. Nope. Apparently, your only choice is full attendance or emotional exile. This tactic simplifies life's complexities into binary ultimatums, forcing you to choose the lesser evil. It's not about what's fair. It's about steering you into their preferred box. and then acting shocked when you dare to question it. Projection. You're sitting there, minding your business, when your coworker suddenly accuses you of being disorganized. Meanwhile, their desk looks like a crime scene of sticky notes and coffee cups. Projection is all about deflecting one's flaws onto someone else, like a psychological game of hot potato. It's the perfect cover for people who are allergic to self-awareness, but great at finger-pointing. By the end of the conversation, you'll be so busy defending yourself that you'll forget who actually missed the deadline. Spoiler alert, it wasn't you. Reframing. Your flight gets delayed 8 hours, and the airline cheerfully announces, "This is a great opportunity to relax and explore the terminal." Reframing is the slick art of spinning a bad situation into something that sounds almost positive, if you squint hard enough. Suddenly, a boring layover is an adventure, and losing your wallet becomes a chance to practice minimalism. It's a favorite of motivational speakers and manipulative bosses who turn your unpaid overtime into a growth opportunity. Sure, it's great for morale, but sometimes you just prefer an honest apology and a decent meal voucher. Sunk cost fallacy. You've been waiting in line for an hour, and even though the service looks awful, you think, "I've waited this long, I might as well stick it out." That's the sunk cost fallacy in action, making you double down on a bad decision because of the time, money, or effort you've already invested. Manipulators love this tactic, subtly reminding you how much you've already put in to keep you hooked. Whether it's a crumbling relationship or a pyramid scheme, they'll convince you that bailing now would mean wasting everything. It's a slippery slope, and before you know it, you're knee-deep in regret, but too far gone to turn back. Mirroring. Imagine meeting someone who seems to be your long-lost twin. They laugh when you laugh, share your love of obscure 90s sitcoms, and even drink their coffee the exact same way you do. Mirroring is all about creating a connection by subtly mimicking the other person's behavior, interests, or even speech patterns. It's like saying, "Hey, we're totally the same, so you should trust me." Done right, it's disarmingly charming. Done wrong, it's like staring into a creepy funhouse mirror. But once the trust is built, the manipulator has you hooked. Because, after all, who wouldn't like someone who's basically a reflection of themselves? Foot in the door. "Could you grab me a glass of water?" they ask sweetly, and you, being the generous soul you are, oblige. 5 minutes later, you're rearranging their living room furniture because you're already here. Foot in the door works by starting with a small, innocent request to get your foot inside the metaphorical doorway of someone's goodwill. Once that first yes is secured, the requests escalate, like a snowball rolling downhill. The genius of this tactic is its subtlety. By the time you realize you're knee-deep in commitments, you're too invested to back out. And to think, it all started with that glass of water. Door in the face. Picture this. Your teenager asks if they can host a wild party with 50 friends at your house. Naturally, you say no. Then they sigh and say, "Fine. Can I just have a few friends over for a movie night?" Relieved that they've compromised, you agree, not realizing you've been expertly played. Door in the face works by leading with an over-the-top request you're bound to reject, followed by the actual, smaller request they wanted all along. It's a bit like haggling, except only one side knows the rules, and you're left feeling like you've dodged a bullet, when in reality, you just handed over the keys. Negative reinforcement. Every time your roommate leaves the sink full of dishes, you crank up the volume on your screamo hits of the early 2000s playlist. Eventually, they start washing the dishes just to avoid hearing you scream along to it. That's negative reinforcement, creating an unpleasant condition that disappears only when the target behaves the way you want. It's a bit like training a dog, but instead of treats, you're using mild torment. The beauty of this tactic is its subtlety. You don't need to say a word. Your actions, or their discomfort, speak volumes. Over time, they'll start behaving just to keep the peace, or to keep their eardrums intact. Triangulation. You're out with two friends, and one of them casually says, "Don't you think Alex has been a bit selfish lately?" Suddenly, you're dragged into their drama, whether you wanted to be or not. Triangulation is all about creating alliances or rivalries by pulling in a third party. The manipulator stays at the center, orchestrating the chaos while others duke it out. It's the perfect tactic for someone who thrives on drama and loves being in control. By the time you realize you're just a pawn in their chess game, they've already moved on to their next target. Isolation. You're dating someone new and they keep saying, "Your friends don't really understand you like I do." Over time, you start seeing less of your friends and more of them, until one day you realize they're your entire world. Isolation is the subtle or not so subtle act of cutting someone off from their support system, making them more dependent on the manipulator. It can start with innocent-seeming comments or suggestions, but it gradually builds until the target feels completely alone. Once isolated, they're much easier to control, because, let's face it, where else can they turn? Silent treatment. You ask a simple question and they respond with nothing. Just stony silence and maybe the occasional pointed glance. The silent treatment is a classic passive-aggressive move, designed to make you squirm in the unbearable awkwardness of being ignored. It's not just about withholding communication. It's about making you feel so uncomfortable that you'll apologize, give in, or do whatever it takes to end the quiet torture. And when they finally decide to grace you with their words again, you'll feel oddly grateful, even though they're the ones who started the whole mess. Truly diabolical. Flattery. "Oh, you're so brilliant. I don't know how you do it. Everything you touch turns to gold." Before you know it, your ego is so inflated, you're floating 3 feet off the ground. And then comes the favor. Flattery is a sugar-coated manipulation tactic that plays on people's natural love of praise. It's harmless when genuine, but when used strategically, it's like the bait in a trap. You're so busy basking in their compliments that you don't realize you're being reeled in. The best manipulators know just how to sprinkle their flattery. Not too much to seem fake, but enough to make you feel like a superstar. Scarcity. "Only 2 tickets left," screams the website, and suddenly you're in a frenzy to book, even though you weren't sure you wanted to go in the first place. Scarcity taps into our fear of missing out, making us feel like we have to act now, or risk losing out forever. It's a favorite tactic of salespeople, marketers, and anyone trying to nudge you toward a quick decision, whether it's a limited time offer or a claim that something is rare and exclusive. Scarcity pressures you into thinking you'll regret hesitating. The result? You end up with a sense of urgency and maybe a closet full of things you don't really need. Peer pressure. You're out with a group and someone says, "Come on, everyone's doing it." Suddenly, you're sipping a dubious cocktail or agreeing to karaoke a song you don't know the lyrics to. Peer pressure works because humans are hardwired to fit in, and no one wants to be the odd one out. The group dynamic creates a powerful force, nudging you to go along with things you might otherwise avoid. The best manipulators wield peer pressure like a master conductor leading an orchestra, subtly coaxing you to hit the high notes of conformity. And before you know it, you're saying yes just to avoid the awkwardness of saying no.